Welcome back to Beer with Nat. On every episode, I share a beer and a chat with people who do what they love for a living. They work in the beer industry. Today's guest is Anouk Lagae, President Core Europe for Duvel Moortgat, a role she's held for the past 2 years after being promoted from her previous role of Chief Marketing Officer. After graduating with a degree in business engineering, Anouk held marketing and management roles at Unilever and Coca-Cola, the latter of which saw her travel the world, living in Brussels, Australia, and London, a life-changing experience as she describes it. After deciding to return to Belgium with her young family, Anouk set her sights on working for a Belgian company with international aims. Enter Duvel Moortgat. Despite having no beer background, Anouk tells us how she felt embraced by her new Duvel family, and in turn, how she embraced learning every detail about Duvel, which helped her to discover and fall in love with the beer. We talk about her day-to-day role, how her new role in management differs from her previous role as CMO, why she's so passionate about marketing, and what drives her today. Anouk tells me what it's like to be the first and only woman on the Duvel Moortgat Management Committee, and about the sense of responsibility she feels to help support other women in the business and in the industry more broadly. We also talk about the best bits of her job, her interests outside of beer, and how those interests are now more relevant than ever with Duvel Moortgat's latest partnership, and of course, what she enjoys most about being a part of the beer industry. Here she is.
I brought a fantastic beer from Belgium, which is called Duvel. And why? Well, because it's the champagne of beers, and it's the beer I fell most in love with.
Yep, and which you will tell us more about today, how you ended up working at Duvel. So I think we might as well have a sip and enjoy the champagne of beers before we get started. Cheers. Even, dare I say how early it is? Pre-noon. It's always a good time for a Duvel. It's just so sparkling and bright and crisp and refreshing and so easy to drink. One of your favorites, and yeah, we'll talk about why. You are the president of Core Europe for Duvel, a role that you were promoted to 2 years ago from your previous role as Chief Marketing Officer. I want to start with what your day-to-day role looks like, and then we'll backtrack a little bit to the beginning of your time at Duvel, and you can tell me how you got to where you are. So what is a typical day for you, if you have one?
Well, indeed, every day is different, but let's say that 2 days a week I'm traveling to any of my countries, which are mainly the neighbor countries of Belgium, so which I'm responsible for. But the days that I'm not traveling, I spend them mostly at Puurs, at the brewery. And those are typically days with quite a few conference calls with my countries, and then obviously some emailing and spreadsheeting and
all the number crunching.
Exactly.
Yep, that still needs to take place. Take me back. When did you start at Duvel? What role were you in there, and how have you worked up to the role you're in now?
I started at Duvel 7 years ago, so
Okay.
in 2012 in February, and my role was Chief Marketing Officer. So I was responsible for the marketing of all our brands, of all our breweries around the world, and I've done that for 5 years. And then the last 2 years, I've got the job of being responsible for the neighbor countries, so the general management, the P&L responsibility for the countries, and including 2 breweries, which is Brewery A in Amsterdam and Brewery Ducato in Parma in Italy.
And how do those roles differ? Just from having the marketing responsibility to now, like you said, being the general manager and looking at the P&Ls?
Yeah, it's much broader scope, so you are responsible for more parts. As a marketeer, you connect all the dots, being the bridge between all the departments and bringing it to life into some concrete ways towards the consumer. So you have a relation, an important relation with all of them, and a liaison, but now I'm also responsible for some other departments that I'm not necessarily the expert in, but so that's the main difference.
And what's been the most interesting thing that you've learned in these last 2 years in the new role?
Oh, good question. Well, it's probably a learning through some difficulties, but we had some logistical problems in France in one of our logistic platforms that we share with a few other breweries. And unfortunately, with the move, there's been a bit of crisis management. And I have probably totally underestimated that you can have the best beers You can have the best marketing, the best sales team, but if logistics cannot bring it to the right place,
to the consumers, the right place at the right time.
Exactly, at the right time, at the right place, it all falls apart. So that's probably a tough learning.
Yeah, that you didn't really have to see on the marketing side.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Before Duvel, you were at Unilever and then at Coca-Cola. What roles did you have in those companies, and how did they help get you to where you are now?
I started in marketing at Unilever, and then I was mostly focused after that on innovation, brewing new beverages, new acquisitions, totally new beverage categories, health and well-being focused. And the last couple of years I was in general management at Coca-Cola, so I was actually similar job.
Oh, okay, so you got some good experience then that helps with this. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about that, as I know you worked internationally at Coca-Cola, so you spent some time in Australia, some time in the States as well, is that right?
I met my husband in the States. I didn't work there, but I traveled long distance, or I had a long distance relationship for 1.5 years.
And you lived in London at that time as well when you were working for Coca-Cola.
And then we lived in London, Sydney and London for 10 years.
So what was that like working internationally, and how does that influence how you think and the way you look at markets today? Because you know so much more than just your home market.
Yeah, it is life-changing.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever decided to do. So it broadens your horizons in so many ways. You understand that you can look at life and business from many different angles, and there's not one way and not one truth, and your openness for new cultures, for new routines, for new cultural differences. I think that has changed me as a person.
And after having that experience then and deciding to return home to Belgium, what was that like, coming back to this market that you know quite well?
Yeah, it was a very considerate choice to return, because our 3 kids were born overseas, and we really wanted, we had the insight at some stage that they didn't really have their roots. And so the best we wanted to give our children is to have somewhere roots. And so we returned to Belgium with the intention of staying there at least for 5 years. So
give them a good base,
exactly,
let them grow up a bit.
A good base, but then keeping all the options open, because
you knew how important travel was to you.
Exactly, the world is so beautiful and it's so enriching, and it's actually even a bit addictive.
Yeah, I've definitely got a travel bug.
Meeting new people, and exactly, and so so that brought us back to Belgium. Also, we understood that having access to good healthcare and good educational systems is actually Belgium is a brilliant country, and that was also one of the reasons which was handy to return. But the good thing is, whilst we returned, then I was responsible at Coke first for Europe, and then in my chief marketing role globally. So I still had, through my job, one foot in the rest of the
this
world.
very international view on the work that you were doing,
which was a condition, for returning to Belgium. Otherwise, it would be too small,
almost too
and
restricting.
Too restricting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, what led you from Coca-Cola to Duvel? Was it an interest in beer, an interest in the business of Duvel, both being brought together?
Well, you probably won't believe it, but I wasn't a beer drinker before.
Shocking.
I know. For you being a
but
beer
it's changed now. Yeah, exactly. For me, I'm like...
Some people have late insights in life, and
I had a time before beer as well. I will let you know. There was a pre-beer Nat, so I understand. Everyone's had one.
But no, I really wanted... it was a very considerate choice. I wanted to work for a Belgian company.
Okay.
After having lived abroad and having helped building brands globally, I really wanted to bring all the skills that I got from overseas, and I wanted to put that at the benefit of a Belgian company who had the ambition and the dream of growing globally.
Okay.
And then Duvel, it's an icon in Belgium. So I've always worked for iconic brands. So Duvel is an icon. So I wanted really to contribute to that growth globally. And then I really chose for the family values of Duvel Moortgat. That is what eventually made me decide to jump into a much smaller scaled job if you want, but a much larger in terms of the impact you can have.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Still those global ambitions, but starting from a much smaller base. Yeah.
Exactly.
And not having any beer experience, was that difficult to come into the beer industry or even to know who your consumers are and how to market to them?
Mm-hmm. I've been welcomed from day one in an amazing way. It's such a warm and welcoming community. So both at Duvel Moortgat to start with, even before I joined, I got a text message from our CTO, from our head brewer.
Oh my goodness!
We are
welcome
so
to the
proud.
team.
Welcome to the family. So yeah,
oh, that's
really,
so lovely.
yeah,
and it's
really.
just those personal touches that
exactly
make you feel you're part of the family.
Also, the Belgian brewers really wanted me very soon onwards in their communication cell to help and drive, the love for Belgian beers with the federation. And so, yeah, it's one big sisterhood and very our brotherhood, however you want to see it. So it's been very smooth, very easy.
And in terms of one of your highlight experiences of a marketing campaign that you've worked on, when you look back at your previous role, what is the story that you just love to tell that was a great campaign that you're so proud of?
Oh wow, there's actually quite a few, I must admit. There's one I'm seeing the impact on a daily basis still, and that's probably our Duvel Mastery campaign, which might appear very basic, but actually there's so many stories at the brewery that are well known to everyone inside the brewery and maybe around the church. But that didn't travel, And once you start to know these stories of how much dedication and quality and love and care goes into those beers, you actually can't help but fall in love. It's so basic, but it's so true, and that's what happened to me as well. I didn't drink beer, I didn't drink Duvel, and it became my biggest love beer, and because you see what goes inside to make and brew these fabulous beers. So we decided to bring these stories anywhere in the world, and the only way to do that in a guaranteed way, because we don't have big budgets, is on the back of our labels. So everyone who has a Duvel can read one of our amazing Duvel stories that are happening every day, but at
in
least
this very glass,
glass,
that you're enjoying the beer in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
I want to go back even further to your time at university. You studied business, so what attracted you specifically to marketing within that broader business umbrella?
Marketing is really a very nice mix of art and science.
Much like brewing, yeah.
Exactly. So, first you need to understand what lives in society. You need to feel it, you need to research it, and then you can find ways, starting from the consumer, you can start to find ways on how to meet those consumer demands. But then from the other side, we have our beautiful beers. What can we do with them to market them in any more relevant way or contemporary way that it keeps on resonating or even more with consumers? And trial and error, and again, connecting the dots. I talk with the brewers I used to talk with the brewers on a daily basis, talking with finance, talking with research agencies, talking with supply chain, talking with, so you connect all the dots, you make a strategy and you put it in place, and then hopefully you see the results.
Yeah.
So and that's the most addictive part, if you see that actually your strategies do pay off. And you see that
you just want to keep doing it.
Love gets spread around the globe. That's one of the most rewarding things to see.
And when you first picked marketing, is this the vision you saw for yourself, for your future? Not necessarily where you are at Duvel, but even the whole career path that you've taken.
Yeah, well, I think if you want to win with your business, whatever it is, I think marketing and sales, help to create value and added value. So that's that. leading a business, setting a strategy, seeing the results of that strategy, adapting the strategy, taking risks, and getting the rewards. That is what ticks my box.
Yeah, that's what drives you.
That's what drives me.
Mm-hmm.
But my business degree is actually, it's a mix between engineering and business, and so so I'm a management engineer, so it was half.
Oh wow, so it's really fitting to having your marketing hat on, having those interests,
exactly,
but understanding how to execute in a management sense.
So I actually have a dual degree. It's called management engineering in Belgium, but it's a master in
so you were totally made for this. This is what you studied, and you've really brought it to life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Bridging the gap between the science and the brewers and the production and the technical people, speaking the same language, understanding the language, and then connecting it with reality, which is out in the market.
Yeah.
And finding that balance through the art and science.
Yeah, and that's what I say I love to do as well, having a science degree and understanding the microbiology and the brewing science side of things. I want to go then and communicate that. Exactly. And that's the art of figuring out how do we talk about something very technical in a way that consumers will understand, and being able to bring those two passions together. Oh, so connected, Anouk.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna big you up a little bit. In 2015, you won an award for Dutch Marketeer of the Year. What was it like? Tell me a little bit more about the award and how it feels to have your work recognized.
Okay. It was never a dream. It was never a goal to go for that. It's just a very nice, indeed, recognition for the work we've done. And by the way, this is not a personal title. It's a team effort award. Because marketing, one, there's a whole team, and two, it connects the whole company.
Yeah, very good point.
It was a bit weird because the message I wanted to bring you, obviously they invite you to be awarded and that you're nominated, and you need to accept the invite to then participate to the further contest. And the first 2 years I said, no, I'm not interested. And the third year it's like, but we really want you to be part of it. So I accepted. But the reason why I accepted to participate was actually that I've learned through Duvel Moortgat, and thanks to Duvel Moortgat, that you can grow and win in the market in a very different way, through authentic marketing. So the Duvel way of marketing is very different than anything I've been taught
practicing
previously, where there were big budgets and you just buy yourself into the homes and control many of these levers. The authentic way is that you don't have much more than your product to work with, not big budgets, but actually by focusing on quality, and every day and in each of the aspects, focusing on quality, the result is that you grow and that quantity follows. But so growth is a result. Quantitative growth is a result of focusing on quality, which is very different than when you work in big corporates where the focus is on volume, you need to deliver volume and you need to deliver quantity. So what are you going to do? Or sometimes profit, but so what are you going to do to focus on the quantity? And that's a very, very different way of working. And you actually do see that many of the big players with huge budgets are not necessarily winning. And Duvel Moortgat and the authentic way of doing marketing keeps on growing, both in Belgium and internationally, at a very healthy pace with very limited means.
Yeah, by putting quality first.
Exactly.
And showing the consumers this is what we
value.
value.
Close to the product and to the truths, and not making any shortcuts. And being authentic. And thanks to the rise of social media, actually, without social media, that reality would never, the whole craft movement and the whole way of how craft beers are gaining in such quick way from zero to huge with not a lot of means, it's mainly thanks to social media. And it's actually the consumer who decides what they want to spread, what they want to endorse and what they're a fan of. And it's actually them, allowing them to do the work, which makes it credible.
To become your best advocates.
And that's, it's actually a real meritocracy now, which is a big struggle for the big players, because suddenly all the items and the toolboxes you had and all the realities that you've been working with have totally disappeared, and they need to change their games as well.
So it's about staying on top of the trends in the market and understanding how you can use those to benefit yourselves as well, but about being authentic and focusing on quality first.
Exactly.
Yeah. In an interview that you gave to the university that you graduated from, you said that you're, quote, the first woman in the management committee at Duvel in 4 generations. So that's quite a big deal. How does it feel to be the most senior woman at Duvel, and what did it look like to get there?
Well, I'd like to point out I'm not the most senior, and there's also in the board of directors, there's Duvel Moortgat, who's one of the family members.
Also a family member.
Obviously, she's one of the shareholders, so I'm not the most senior, but indeed within the management committee, I am the first woman and the only woman. I would love to rephrase your question a bit, and what does it feel like to be the only woman? And the first couple of years it was amazing, because you just look through a different lens, and you have different glasses on, and there's many more or different opportunities that you can capture. The last couple of years though, it's sometimes a little bit lonely to be just one woman in the management committee. And I've been asking Michelle, come on Michelle, bring in some more women. But obviously people are so loyal, and we have a fantastic management committee team. So unless someone is leaving,
there's no room yet.
Exactly,
yeah,
there is no room, so you can't force that.
Yep.
So Michelle is absolutely driving that, and he's very open to that. He wants to give opportunities to many women who apply for bigger roles. But unfortunately, there's no seat available as yet to join.
Yeah, in a small business, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Do you feel you have a responsibility to help support or mentor other women on their career paths?
Absolutely. I still see many little shortfalls or many little bad habits that are created through education or through society or through that. Me being a leader and observing how men in my teams behave and how women in my teams behave, there's a difference.
What are some examples that you've seen?
It starts with applying for a role.
Yeah.
If we submit a job description and let's say that the men meet 80% of the requirements, they will apply, and for sure, okay, here I am exactly what you're after.
Yeah.
Women have the tendency, oh no, I only have 80% of that, I don't have that 20%, so I may just not apply. So it starts with that.
How we count ourselves out of the opportunity.
Exactly.
Before even being on a level playing field.
So making women aware that they might maybe apply for that job, and why would you not consider? And I love Pippi Longstocking, as an example. I mean, one of her key quotes, her main quotes that I like to give to women as well. Sure, I have never done this before, so I think I may be able to do it. So instead of no, I've never done it, I probably won't
can't.
be able. I probably can't. But it's such a different mindset. That men, luckily, they have the talent, or they've been raised like that, or they've been educated, or through society, they grab more chances, or they are more confident in seeing their potential, as opposed to, do I meet all the requirements of today?
And it's, can I be that role in the future?
Exactly.
And so it's just encouraging us to
exactly
see ourselves a bit bigger.
Correct.
Instead of making ourselves smaller than the roles we're going for. Yeah, that's huge insight to see if you've seen it play out in your teams as well.
Big time.
Yeah.
And over and over again, actually.
So it's about us believing in ourselves. So
Totally.
Come on, everybody.
Totally.
Let's believe we can do it.
Honestly, if the job is, if 60% or more, apply.
Yeah.
Go for it. It's about the potential. It's not about ticking all the boxes right here, right now.
Yeah. Thank you. That's how we're going to lift each other up. What aspect of your work do you enjoy the most?
Ooh, I love the variety. I get most satisfaction and most energy of working with people and making people grow. Seeing the talents in what they have, and focusing on what they're good at, and making that even bigger, and making them realize that they can go for
what they can
more.
accomplish.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. That makes me really energetic and proud, and it's very fulfilling. On the other hand, having the impact in the market and seeing the results of the risks you take, of the bold moves you dare to do, or going the non-evident, choosing for the non-evident path, or daring to say no, to stay true to the brands and true to the authentic growth, is probably the other thing that makes me...
It sounds very holistic, that you've got the sales and marketing interest. What buttons can we push? What things can we try?
Exactly.
But then also that management interest of who can I bring up along with me on this journey.
Right.
Now, we'll step away from work just for a moment to talk about what you do
sip.
outside of beer. Yeah, you can have some beer since I've made you do all the talking. I know you have an interest in Eastern medicine. Is there anything else that you are interested in outside of beer? So tell me a little bit more about that interest and where that came from and what else you like to do outside of beer.
Wow.
I know that could be a whole separate episode, basically.
Yes, let's not go too
that far
much into those details, and because I can talk for hours, because it's my passion. Food is medicine. And one of the big insights that the Chinese already have been known for more than 5,000 years is what you eat and drink can help to rebalance you or help to prevent you to become sick. So it started with readings, and then my passion got a bit out of hand. And when I turned 40, which is midlife crisis, it's probably, I want to do even more for society, and if I can bring anything more to this world, what would it be? And if I can contribute of understanding better food and drinks, how it can help you in the choice of what you eat and drink to prevent to become sick. I love to spread that wisdom and knowledge and science one day into the broader world. I just graduated last June. I studied 3 years phytotherapy, so
oh my goodness,
it's herbal medicine.
I didn't realize your program was that long. Wow.
Yeah. And
it's
now
a big
I
commitment.
can
you practice?
No, I don't practice.
Okay.
I will never. That's
it's
not
just
my
about
ambition.
the education.
It's about the education
and sharing that information.
Exactly. And actually, it's also thanks to that and the openness of Duvel Moortgat and Duvel Moortgat in general. We are looking at ways, of people wanting to lead healthy, more healthy lives. What can we also brew that is totally natural, that is fermented, that tastes great, but it is not necessarily full alcoholic or alcoholic. And that's how last summer we got in touch with the fantastic brewers at Jar, Crate and Jar Brewery. And they brew kombucha, which is a fermented tea. And the Chinese, they used to call kombucha immortality tea.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh wow. That's a good marketing story.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's a true story. We paid them a visit. We immediately fell in love with what they're doing and what their values are. We had so much in common, and Michelle and the family agreed to partner with the Jar Brewery, and now based in London. So we are now going to also market kombucha into the UK and probably beyond,
and
anywhere
beyond
in the world where it might be relevant.
It's a great way to bring your interest and your expertise
exactly
into brewed beverages and finding the way that we can use food and drinks as medicine.
Exactly.
Wow, that's exciting. That's really cool. Okay, I've got my last question for you. What do you enjoy most about being a part of the beer industry?
The unique thing, which I have never ever experienced in any other business I've worked in, is the collaboration and the sisterhood. So everyone helps each other. yes, you could argue we are maybe a little bit looking for the same opportunities, and we might even compete, but actually everyone is helping each other when they need it. So, and that's at any level. So brewers help each other to exchange recipes, to exchange production challenges or knowledge exchange. That happens, with the salespeople, with the marketing people, with even supply chain, where we share logistic platforms. So I have never come across, I cannot even imagine, Coke versus Pepsi,
Yeah, true. That animosity is part of the marketing almost.
You don't even meet or get, at conferences you don't talk to each other, and here everyone is willing and open to collaborate and help wherever we can, to spread the love for beer in the rest of the world, and bring these natural, healthy beverages
to more consumers.
To more consumers.
Well, that's all I've got for you. That's all we've got time for today, as you've got a train to Belgium to catch.
That's
right.
So
thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Natalia. And keep on doing what you're doing, because you're spreading the love in such a wonderful way with the art and the science. It's just a great example for many others, hopefully, to come.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your time and for all of your support, Anouk, both personally and more broadly for all of the women in our industry. Listeners, I can't thank you enough for listening. This episode 10, wraps the first season of Beer with Nat. But don't worry, I'll be back. I'm currently working on an exciting new project that I can't wait to tell you all more about. But for now, I've got to get it finished. So I'm taking a little break from Beer with Nat, but I'm already excited about the interviews lined up for season 2. Keep an eye on my social media @BeerWithNat on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to find out when I'll be back. Until then, thanks again for listening, and chat soon.